Hello and welcome to Revive Stories. It's so good to be back for another episode. I've been missing in action, but I've had some people fill in, and it's been so good to continue to hear some of the amazing stories that are coming out of our church. And today we've got a special guest, a good friend of mine, Tomek, who's going to be joining us and sharing a bit about his story and quite a big moment and experience in his life. But if you're new here or watching for the first time, Revive Stories really is just a place where we can share story. We believe in the power of the testimony. We believe that God is doing something amazing in the lives of all of us. And when we take moments to share these experiences and share these stories, there is power and there is encouragement and there's inspiration. And today I feel is no different. Tomek, man, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
I'm doing very good in yourself.
Yeah, man. Very, very good. I'm excited for today. Obviously, I know a little bit about you and your story, and I was very eager to get something on film and to share it. So yeah, maybe we can just start off. You can let us know a little bit about childhood, where you grew up, and maybe your first experiences with God and with church, and then we can kind of dive into the meat.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've been very blessed that I've been brought up in a household that's been church going. Throughout the years, my parents was part of the worship team when they were in the Methodist church or the Presbyterian church,
Wow.
and then continue going to the Methodist church like that. So throughout the whole childhood, I've always been going to church. It's always been a thing every Sunday going to church. So yeah, I mean, when started the Presbyterian, then went to Methodist, and then I progressed to Hillsong. And then went to View and then now to Revive. So I feel Revive is really my home, and I can't see any other church that I feel like fits me better as a person, socially, spiritually. So yeah, I've just been very blessed that I've always been surrounded by such godly parents that's really molded me into the person I am. So I'm very thankful for them that I've been just surrounded by such amazing parents that really guided me spiritually along my life.
That's incredible. So is there a moment? It's amazing when we can grow up in households like that. And I
Yeah,
love your parents. I think they're incredible people.
yeah,
I still have your dad's book, by the way, which is so bad. I like every Sunday I forget. I need to make a deal of bringing it this Sunday. But your parents are amazing, incredible
yeah.
people. Maybe from your perspective, can you pinpoint a moment where maybe things became kind of real for you? Like it's now become, geez, it's now personal, and there was a personal decision made, or was it just a culminate, like that was life and it just felt kind of seamless and that's how it happened?
Yeah, I would definitely say that, through, primary school, high school, my relationship with God was definitely not at where it is today. I would say
Yeah,
would be, uh, you know, kind of my relationship with God really got to the next level was when I actually joined View Church. Um,
sure.
just the community and just the people just made me so motivated to want to be, have a relationship or close relationship with God, you know, be more intentional towards my relationship with him, spend more time with him. And I think that's what's so important. I feel like, especially around our day and age, like being surrounded by people that motivate you to want to be a better person as well as, grow spiritually with God. So that definitely
Mm,
just being involved, in church, doing production team that I'm involved in,
yeah,
I'm becoming so blessed to be leading a life group. It's just grown my spiritual journey so much. So I definitely say communities helped me so much in
sure.
growing my relationship, and that I can all give to, obviously, 100% to God, but just the community of View Church, Revive Church. I think just
Mm,
Revive are at that's where we what we called now, but I can actually give it a lot to Revive because I went to Hillsong before, and yes, it
yeah.
was amazing, but I didn't feel connected, and I feel like
Mm.
that's what Revive has done. It's allowed me to stay connected and call the church a home, and that's what I can really give to that point of view.
Man, that's incredible. Geez, so good to be able to hear that. There's brilliant
Yeah,
churches, everywhere, but finding a
yes,
place where you can feel connected, I
yes,
think that should be the goal for all people. And
yeah,
different people are going to fit in different places. So I'm so glad that
yes,
Revive could be a place for you.
yeah,
Tom, I would love to chat a little bit about kind of this kind of life changing kind of moment that you went through, struggling with epilepsy, kind of growing up. and then going for this kind of big operation, and maybe just explaining the whole process here. And I was really keen to have this conversation and chat to you a bit about it, just to maybe for anybody that's watching here today that has gone through something similar or is potentially going through something similar. I feel your story could be a great encouragement to them, man. So maybe you can start kind of at the beginning, and we can chat a bit about what that process looked like for you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I was diagnosed with frontal epilepsy, which basically means, or frontal lobe nocturnal epilepsy, which essentially means I get seizures in my sleep. And that I got in 2007. So I've had epilepsy for, math-wise, I think that's about 16 years, if my math is correct. So, had since 2007. Was very, how can I say, quite difficult for my parents, for your child to go through that, not knowing what's going on. So, for a while, numerous tests is trying to figure out what's going on. A great neurologist, Dr. Butler at Constantia, that just was such a blessing to get to know him. And he honestly was such a blessing to be able to determine what's the right medication for me, what's the right protocols to take for the situation. So, I was taking medication for about 10 plus years. And then it got to a stage where the medication I was taking was such a high dosage, it actually couldn't control my seizures. So every night I was basically in bed, and about 45 seconds into falling asleep, I would have a seizure. And this was consistent for basically every night. So, went to the doctor, told him about this, and, he recommended brain surgery. And, it is a case that's not, that they do recommend that, not a lot of neurologists do recommend it, but he was very for it. So I went for an EEG monitoring, which is basically overnight monitoring, where they just, monitor your brainwaves to see if you are a candidate for an operation, because they won't essentially, have operation if they can't see any, potential of it being a success. So I had the EEG monitoring, and it was actually a 20% chance that the operation would be a success. But, I was at the stage where I was having every night, and it was just that, I wanted to go for it. So I can definitely say over the years, just my faith in God helped me to just be confident in going for that operation, because I think essentially, like, going for a operation like that is, it's hectic. I mean, brain surgery, essentially they opened up my brain, and okay, I'll touch on that a bit further. And I went for it. Then I went for a thing called intracranial monitoring, which is essentially where they had to open up my skull, and they had to put these electrodes on my brain to basically to determine where these seizures are occurring. And from that, they were able to determine where it essentially is. And I went for operation a week after that. And then they essentially couldn't remove all the epilepsy or all the so essentially it's quite weird. It's like candy floss in your brain. It's very weird how it is, but essentially they remove the ignition of the seizures from my brain. And because where a large portion of that was occurred on my brain, they what happened after operation, I was completely lame in the left side of my body. So my left side of my body, my arms, my legs, everything was dead. So essentially that part of my brain that they removed controlled my left side was completely gone. So actually that part of my brain that people have where, your right brain controls your left side, your left brain controls your right side, that is actually completely out of my brain. So I had to then go for neurophysio for about 3 to 4 months, where I had to program my right side to, my left side to control both sides of my body. So that was quite a shock, but I was obviously aware of it. And the doctor said, over time you'll get your feeling back, but I still don't have that 100% mind to muscle connection of my left side. So my coordination is not there, but I mean, to be able to still, function, no one actually realizes what I went through, because I still lived the normal life, having epilepsy because I had it in my sleep. So, no one at school kind of realized, I had this condition and stuff like that. Only people that I went and stepped over at the house, they realized, okay, somebody takes medication, has these kind of things. But I mean, it was a very hectic, journey. I was in hospital for about a month, where they did, numerous tests over time with operation, because, I couldn't just leave after operation because, I couldn't walk at all because my whole left side was lame. So it took about a week till I started to get feelings back, slowly progressed from going to the shoulder to, the fingers, then the legs, the feet, the toes. So only was, wanted to leave once I was able to move, and able to do things for myself. But it was a very long process. The recovery, it's very mental, the doctor work, but the recovery is all God. So definitely going through the recovery process, you have to just listen to your body. You can't push yourself, and especially like being so young and being so active, that definitely was a help, just being motivated and just knowing that, okay, cool, this recovery process out of my control, this is all God. So I'm going to just trust that every small step I'm going to make, I just got to be patient and just trust that God's got the best in store for me. And that helped me so much through my journey. I think being strong as well was very beneficial for my parents as well, because, seeing your child go through something that hectic is hectic, it's difficult for any parent. So I had to also kind of be that pillar of strength for my parents to see. And I was very blessed. My dad was there for me every step of the way. He was there for me in the hospital. My mom as well, every day also came to visit. So it was such a blessing. I think it actually grew me closer with my parents, just being through that process. And honestly, like looking back, like I was just so blessed to see where I was then to here. And I can say I've been seizure free for 5 years. So having epilepsy for 16 years now, these last 5 years, I've been seizure free for 5 years since my operation, and I've reduced my medication by 90%. And
that's incredible.
Is that in about 3 months' time, my doctor wants to completely remove medication. And that's going to be to take medication for 16 years to now not take it all is amazing.
It's a miracle. It's incredible.
I'm just saying that because like to take for such a long time and now to no longer be on medication is just such a blessing. So I can only give all grace and all thankfulness to God for that.
Sure. Tom, man, I'd love to ask maybe 2 questions. The first one is, can you remember a moment during the whole thing, maybe the operation or probably most likely during the rehab, where you felt yourself in a low space, in a space where, geez, you were maybe discouraged or where things were really tough? Can you remember a moment like that? Because you're so positive, man. I definitely picture you like that.
I think as well, like I can really like hinder my sometimes if I feel sad and down, I always can't project positivity. I think a lot of people see that as well. I think only people that are really close to me see when I can have my down moments and things like that. But I definitely would say like during the operation or during the recovery, what was quite hectic was the headaches and hectic migraines I'll be getting, because what happened during the procedure, for them to put like these electrodes on my brain, they had to shrink my brain for them to put it on top. And then obviously then when your brain increased in size over time from the medication, then it was pushing against my skull. So the headaches I had through that recovery process was just nothing. I can't compare to it. So, what was really, I had moments of, when you have this question that time in your life, you're like, why did this have to happen to me? Why did I have to have epilepsy? Like, what did I get to deserve this? But sometimes in those times in life, you mustn't always, it's good to question, but also just be, faithful during the process. Like if I look back, at the process, like I can say going through that made me actually so grateful to be able to move every part of my body, like from being completely lame in my left side, being in a wheelchair because obviously I couldn't really move, to then being able to function, go to gym, be all active like that. That part of the operation really made me feel blessed to be able to just have complete mobility of my entire body. But I mean, I'm definitely did have some days where I'm like, oh my word, this is just ridiculous. This is so hectic. But I would say for most of the part, I was very faithful and very patient. Awesome. And I just knew that there's no point to rush this. And because a positive mindset really helps in any recovery process, and just being patient. I mean, I'm sure you also know from injuries, if you're playing rugby over time, you just have to be patient through the process. You can't rush it. You can't rush your body. You just have to be patient. And that's really something that helped me get through it.
Man, that's so good. And you're such a good guy, man, and love being able to do life with you. And I think that anybody that was around you, they would hear that what you're saying now isn't lip service. I mean, you really live that out, and you're such a positive guy. And I think maybe even as like a last question, if there was someone that was about to go through something quite hectic, I mean, you went through brain surgery, you went through complete rehab, you lost function in half of your body. I mean, you can consider it life-changing. And then you can consider the process going through that, quite tough and quite challenging. If you could give advice, Tom, if someone was about to go, it doesn't have to be brain surgery, but if you could give like just one thing that maybe you found helpful to you, or if you could go back, you would do it, to someone who's about to go through something hectic. Maybe they're quite fearful. Maybe they're unsure of the future. What would that be, man?
I think definitely for me, like, brain surgery was actually a moment that was actually before I joined, Revive Church at the time.
Yeah.
Our relationship actually with God wasn't as close as it was then than it is now. So definitely, as I grew closer with God, I started to actually process a lot of my brain surgery period, where I actually was able to be a lot more faithful in thinking that, oh my word, look what I went through and look where I am now. So I would say my actual relationship with God wasn't primarily actually just grew stronger from that. It was actually, being with Revive and growing with faith, realizing, oh my word, what I went through and where I am now is, where it grew. But I definitely would say what I would say for any, person going through something, similar or something in that kind of circumstance, is in times that, be faithful to God, talk to God, pray, invite God to every moment of your life. And, I always say that, God is in control. So whatever happens in my life, God has the best in store for me. I can just pray, because a lot of times in life, you can have your goal and have your plan for what you want for life. But at the end of the day, God is in control. He is the side of any situation you go through. So long as we have trust and faith that He has the best in store for us, that's what I've always believed in. Because, you go through moments in life where, have ups and downs, but as long as we stay faithful and trust in the plans for our life, that's just it gets me through anything, honestly. That's what helps me through anything in life, is just trust and being faithful in His promises for our life. And that's what's, that's, I can probably say, is what's helped me through everything.
Yeah. Man, that makes me think of the scripture. I should know the reference, but it's many are the plans in a man's heart, but it's the Lord's plan that'll prevail. And I think you mentioned plans there, and you're like, geez. And you mentioned earlier as well, like you can sometimes struggle with the question, why is this happening to me? Like, what did I do? But sometimes a great revelation is that, life happens and things will happen that are not according to plan, or that you feel a bit hard done by. But I think what you mentioned there is such good advice, having the revelation that God is in control and we can trust Him because He's a good Father in heaven and He loves us, and He's called us to a great future. So there might be speed bumps or things that we go through. And I think it coming from you has so much power because you went through something that was crazy. But to trust God through that, geez, I think that's fantastic advice. And this has been such a cool conversation, Tom. Thank you so much. I know I've grabbed you in your lunch break here during work, but man,
my day kind of varies. So actually, my lunch is only a bit later. Just when I'm in my eat. But yeah.
Okay. No, man. Well, listen, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks for thinking of me, for joining the call. I really appreciate it. And I'm glad I was able to share a portion of my life that can show some inspiration, some motivation for anyone that go through something similar.
Oh, man, it's been so helpful. And we really hope that for all of you that are watching this video, and we hope that it has been helpful to you. And if you've got more, maybe you've got a question or two for Tomek, you want to find out more, please make use of the comment section on this video. Any questions that you might have for him or for us, we'll make sure those questions get to him if you make use of the comment section. And we continue to be encouraged by stories. And we want to tell you that your story is powerful, wherever you're watching from today. Your unique experiences with God, they're unique and it has power, and there's power when we share it. So even in the month of July now, where we are running a campaign to reach people, each one reach one, and we're trying to get people to church over the month of July, a story is a great way to get people curious and encouraged about what God can do in their life, especially when things aren't going to plan. So God bless you. We thank you so much for watching. Share this video if it's been helpful to you. And we trust that you'll have an amazing rest of your week. God bless you.